Hey everyone, this is the Twins with the Grand Old Time cast, and I am sitting here with the soon-to-be Lieutenant Evans, and she's going to give us a little brief on her life experiences. So thanks for coming here, Evans, and we'll just start off with who are you, where are you from, and what made you want to join the Army of all things?
Okay, I'm Shailey Evans. I'm from Muldrow, Oklahoma, and I joined the Army for the medical experience and to pay for college. And I stayed in the Army because of all the experiences and opportunities it's offered me and all the people I met.
Okay, so Muldrow, Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
where on earth is that?
It's like right by the border of Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Okay, so you're a ways
Mm-hmm.
away.
Yeah,
Okay, so you grew up there. Is it just kind of like a country rural town,
really
like
small town.
really small town?
Yeah,
About how many people?
I think 3,000 is
Okay,
population. Yeah,
okay, that's not bad. So you knew everybody knows each
everybody
other and
knows
everybody
everybody.
knows each other's business. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, very cool. So you grew up in that small town vibe. You decided to join the army for the schooling and the benefits,
Mm-hmm.
to also get some medical experience as well.
Right.
So, how old were you when you actually took the plunge?
I was 17 when I enlisted. So I had to go to RSP for 9 months before I graduated and then went to basic training.
Okay, so RSP for 9 months, and for those who don't know, RSP is like the Readiness Sustainment Program for, or Recruit Sustainment Program, I guess. So as a young high school student, you can actually join the Guard with your parents' permission, of course,
I
at
did
the
have
age
to
of 17,
sign.
and then you, once a month, just like a typical National Guard soldier, they'll go and drill at this RSP location. Where was your location at?
So due to COVID, it was weird. They had to like combine some and then separate some in a different fashion. So it was like less people here, more people, social distancing and whatnot.
Uh,
So I was at, it's in, starts with a W. I was supposed to be at Sand Springs. Think maybe Wagner. Is there one there? An armory there?
I'm not
Possibly.
sure. You
I'm
tell
not
me.
sure either. I know it starts with a W, but it's like an hour away from Aldro. So I just
Gotcha.
drove to this random armory. Yeah.
Driving an hour to go there, but you got to do what you got to do.
It was closer than the one that they wanted me to go to. So Sand Springs from Aldro was like even further. So
Yeah.
it was nicer.
So I guess so as RSP, you kind of show up in the morning, you do your PT, and then most of the time it'll be what death by PowerPoint.
Right. Just teaching you land nav over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Only on the board though.
Yeah, but I mean, I will be honest, like they taught me to march. They taught me to do
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff that made basic training
A lot
loads
easier,
easier.
yeah.
So I would say a lot of guard candidates are probably more prepped to go to basic training than just your
Oh, for
average
sure. Because
like.
active duty, they'll just like enlist and boom, they
Mhm.
send the next day.
Yeah, yeah, they'll be gone, and
They have no idea what they're getting into.
and what's even cooler, we had talked about this before, but it's when you go there to the guard. If you're in the guard, then you go to basic. It's like, hey, you're getting that full time pay while you're there, but we've
Mm-hmm.
already been snapping,
Right.
cashing
You've already been
checks.
getting checks every month.
So everyone else is like, all the kids like, oh wow, I got my first paycheck. When you're done with,
Mm-hmm.
it's like we've already been collecting money. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like a huge deal to us. This is just going back to work.
Yeah,
So
just another job.
just FYI, if you want to get some experience and you want to join the military, you can actually transition from the guard to active. But the guard does a really good job of A, paying you, and B, getting you prepped for basic training if you want to go. So I actually recommend it to young kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like being in an after school program, except you get paid to do it, and but you have to do it
You
because
do have to show up.
you signed on the dotted line. The government owns you now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool that you were a part of that program. Like I said, for the short time I was involved in it, I learned a lot. But gosh, I
Mm-hmm.
was ready to be done with it
Done.
because I
Yeah.
wasn't a 17 to 18-year-old kid looking for something to do as an extracurricular. I was like, I just want to get to basic and get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
So, how old were you when you finally shipped off to basic
I
training?
had just turned 18 like
Okay,
2 months before.
all right. So, did you ever have to report back to the RSP, or did you just go all the way through? You completed high school, then went to
I completed high school. I didn't do the like split thing like junior year. I
split
just
off. Yeah.
yeah, I completed it, but I did end up coming back. So you come back and you do your on-ramp drill, but I had just missed like that month's section timing or whatever for to go to on-ramp. And so they were like, "Well, if you want to drill this month and like still get paid, you can just go back to Sand Springs and be like assisting, the sergeants there." And I was like, "Okay." So I showed back up to Sand Springs to RSP and I wanted to do PT with them because I was like, why not? But no one knows what you are. Like they didn't see my
Yeah.
U.S. Army fancy patch that I had on my arm from PTs, and so they thought I was just one of the
Recruits.
like trainees, yeah, over there. And so I was just like trying to show everybody up basically in PT because I'm like, I
Nice.
just got out of basic and AIT, and the drill sergeant there, he was doing like a burpee competition or something, and I kept telling him I beat him. He's like, if anyone can like get up faster than me, and I swear like I got up faster than him, but yeah, it was fun. And then he saw me like in uniform, and he was like, oh, because you're a gold phaser, that's why. Like, yeah, that is why.
It's like, yeah, I already did all this stuff. I'm not like the rest of these plebes here.
Yeah, it was fun though. That was a good time to go back and just like kind of full circle moment, like see,
Yeah, see it from the other side, see it
Mhm.
from on the other end. And even when I was there, like, like the kids who were still there, and I would ask them things about how basic training was, and either, their eyes light up. It's like,
Mhm.
I have
Wow.
something on you. I can tell you secrets that an old person like you doesn't know. It's like, yeah, you're right. I don't know anything about this life, so enlighten me. I want to hear your stories. And that's the thing. You have kids sit down and tell you like they're basically like their eyes light up. They're like puppies. It's like, I
Mhm.
can't believe somebody wants to listen to what I have to say. It's because
Everyone gets excited and talk about
exactly,
it.
because when you're in the army, especially as such a new recruit, like the only
Mhm.
people you listen to are the people who have experience on you. So it's like all the sergeants like, there's nothing you can say to me that I don't already know. Don't
Yeah.
talk to me private. So it's just kind of the way it is with a lot of these younger guys. Like they don't get to share their influence until somebody comes along that doesn't know at least something about basic training, and then
Right.
then But once they go to their AIT,
Mhm.
that they're gone. Like they'll never go back to the RSP again because they're done. Like say,
Yeah, as soon
hey,
as you get out of that, you go straight to your unit. So
mm-hmm. So you were 18 when you went to basic training, completed. How was basic training for you? Like,
basic training was good. I mean, it was really difficult. It was like the first time I'd ever been away from family and friends for that period of time, especially with no phone, like not talking to them the whole time. So that was difficult, and I didn't even expect that part to be challenging for me. I was like, I'll be fine. Like I'm independent, I could go. And then I was like, I miss my mom.
yeah,
Like, so that was difficult, but I mean, it was good. I learned a lot there and learned a lot about what I'm capable of. And I think it was a really good start, like, first thing to do, right? When you
mhm,
get into the real world after graduating high school. So
yeah,
it was nice.
absolutely. And you never know how it's going to affect you, like that when the
Hmm.
loneliness creeps in, like when you're away from family and home. Like for me, I was mentally prepared to leave my parents, my
Yeah.
friends, my family. But when I made that final call, when you get there, it's like, hey, I've arrived to my basic training platoon.
I'm safe. And
Yeah, I'm safe, and I will not talk to you again. But a picture of my dog came up on my
you're
phone,
like,
and that's what I was not right, because it's like a dog is like a perfect reminder of home, because it's like
hmm,
the dog doesn't know why you're gone or why you're not there. But I just saw the picture, and I was like, oh, that got me right in the feels for some reason.
yeah.
I was mentally prepped for everything
Like, I'm so
except
ready.
seeing that picture of my dog and be like, she doesn't know why I'm not there.
That
It's
is
like,
sad.
dang it, man! Like, why is this getting me worked up? But I held it together. I held it together. Thank goodness. But yeah, so basic training. Any memorable stories, like anything that stands out, or
So many from basic training. I think every day had some story with it because my drill sergeants were crazy. But I do remember like a funny one of these birds would always fly into the power line and they just blow up and scare everyone, and we'd all like hit the ground thinking contact, contact. The drill sergeants were messing with us, but that was funny. There was one time that it was kind of towards the end too, and people wouldn't fill up their camelbacks. Like their camelbacks would be half empty or blown with air in them to look full, and they would come around and check. And so too many people just didn't have full camelbacks one day. And so we all were like formed up. I think this went on for about 3 hours. Like I wish I was kidding. That we would all in a line dump our camelbacks on our feet, like on the ground, so our boots are soaking wet, and go and fill them again. Everyone like that takes like a long time for everyone to individually
yeah,
fill it off of one water buffalo. Everyone gets back in formation. I'm like, surely this is the last time, right? Everyone dump your camelbacks, and we'd all dump them again, and we did that like enough times to last 3 hours. And then he had made us pretend that the camelback was a big fish, like once they were all full, and we had to like squat and pretend we were fishing, and just that we just caught it and had to hold it.
oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, so that was fun. It
Uh,
was funny though. It was hard not to laugh. Like a lot of points was just really hard not to laugh during good times.
yeah, the one time that stuff like that will actually happen to you, basic training, like it's just the ridiculousness, because you have kids who just think they can get away with murder while they're there,
Hmm.
and again, we had kids that would, we'd come out and like it'd be cold outside because I was there in winter. It's like,
Yeah,
everybody have your gloves on, and it's like then that one kid, I
everyone
lost my
takes it off.
gloves, and then we're sitting there, it's like, see if we can get away with it, and like
Yeah.
everyone's just sitting there. It's like, Finally, the drill sergeants are looking. They see that one kid. They're like, "Take your effing gloves off." And you're like,
Everyone has to take it off.
"No!" And then they're making you do push-ups on the cold concrete, and you're just like,
Hmm.
"This blows." Like, get
Same thing with like the little beanies we had. Someone doesn't have that one. It's pretty obvious.
yeah.
Yeah.
The worst is if like you were out in the field and they're like, "Okay, you can wear your PCs if everyone has them," and you're like, "Yeah."
Yes, and someone doesn't
Yeah.
have
Like,
theirs.
we were supposed to bring our patrol caps with
I'm
us.
like,
Idiots!
I
Why would
know.
you do this to
It's
us?
the worst. That happened at OCS too.
Oh yeah,
There was
of
plenty of it.
course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The only one like similar like that, the OCS that I had was remember we ran out of canteens. It was the morning. We were in the field
Stage one.
dry shaving, so I'm out there like just putting canteen in my canteen cup trying to shave, so I don't have one canteen filled. And the sergeant rolls over and is like, "Everyone, better have your
Choppa.
canteen." Yeah, Sergeant Choppa comes out and he literally ties all of our canteens together. Everyone that didn't have one full, and they just go now go quack quack all the way to the all the way to the can to the water truck and back. And we were doing that, all of us holding on to the leash of our, yep, of our
That's funny.
canteens. It was pretty fun.
Oh my
I was
God.
laughing the whole time. It's hard not to laugh that entire time. It's like, don't laugh. It's not funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, that's what you do. Like you hold like everything retrospectively is hilarious. Like you'll look at it, like why you're there and why you're doing it. It's like, man,
Mhm.
this blows. And then you look back, you're like, nah, it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like my first CO said, like he was like, the harder and more difficult something is, the more memorable it'll be, and the more you'll cherish it as you go on in your career. And it's like, yeah, that's really true. I mean, that rings so true to
Hmm.
everything I've experienced. Like if you shy away from difficulty, if you shy away from, if you just take the path most traveled instead of taking the
Right.
path less traveled, you're gonna regret it. Because if there's an opportunity to jump into leadership, if there's an opportunity to take control or command of something, like do it. Because you're in a training environment, so what does it matter if you fail? Nobody's
Right.
gonna get hurt.
That's
They
the
might do
time
some
to fail.
push-ups,
Yeah.
but it's all good. So never shy away from discomfort. So pushing on from basic training, you go on to AIT, obviously. So you came back home before you went to AIT, or did you go straight to
No,
AIT?
no, we had graduation and family day
Mhm.
at Basic, and then I stayed over like one more night, I think, at Basic, and then went the next day to AIT. Yeah, we bused to Fort Sam Houston from Fort Leonard Wood, and yeah, we were at Fort Sam Houston for 4 months for the combat medic.
And how was that?
It was better than basic training, I think. I think it's because you get a little more freedom. They trust you like a little more, not a lot, but just some, and you kind of feel like a person again. Um, it's just nice, I think, learning your actual job that you want to have in the military. Like learning medical things was really cool. It's the whole reason I enlisted was the medical experience. So it felt really nice to be at that point where I was actually learning how to do my job. And then it's such a cool job to have, honestly, like learning how to save someone in, a traumatic situation. It's pretty cool. Really rewarding for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, putting hands on someone and bringing them back from the brink is
Hmm.
about the coolest thing you can do.
Yeah, it is super cool. And I got my EMT license out of that too. So that was cool to
Yeah.
test out and get that.
So yeah, I mean that's another reason why a lot of people should join the military. It's like, I mean, they're
Mhm.
gonna give you hands-on medical training. It'll be under a stressful environment, stressful conditions, and it's not gonna be that clean like all the girls that I knew in college. Like, oh, I'm gonna be a nurse, and they're just going through and reading the books, and they go out. It's like, now we're gonna stick IVs and stuff. It's like, nah, they're gonna put you under some stress in
Yeah.
the army.
I remember our IV class, it was like inside the classroom, and we would set all the mannequins up on the ground, and then they had like smoke going off in there, and then they played like on the speakers just like war sounds. It's like
Mhm.
it was definitely they turned the lights off. That was fun too.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
that
I'm like, figure it out.
that's a level of difficulty. How do
Yeah.
you figure it out in the dark? You
We
just
have our
follow the
little red
veins?
lights.
Okay.
So we got to start IVs with just red lights in the field and like for practice in the rooms and stuff.
All right.
I think the worst part of that is you use each other like for like practice.
Ugh.
So every day you're getting like 4 IVs started on you.
Oh, that blows.
Which like if you don't like needles, kind of rough.
Yeah.
Every day you're just facing that fear,
No kidding. Yeah, but it takes a certain mentality to want to go into that field anyway. So I think
Mhm.
they had better made peace with that
Yeah, but you're
particular
gonna have to
problem.
just be okay with it at
Yeah.
some point.
They make you just use the red lights. That way, if you start making somebody bleed, no one knows, right?
Something's warm. No, it's not.
I just peed my pants. That's all. But yeah, no. So you got. Was there any particularly memorable experience or funny things that happened while you were at AIT?
In AIT, I think a really cool experience was like in the field. The drill sergeant was trying to put us in a really stressful environment. We had 360 security, and I was senior medic at the time, and I got to start an IV with just red light, and I got it, and I felt super cool after that because I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, let's go. So that was really cool. Just a lot of funny moments at AIT because we were always doing something goofy. But one of our drill sergeants, we liked this ongoing joke of that he had a new drill sergeant hat. And so anytime we saw him, we were like, oh my gosh, like drill sergeant, I love your new hat. Like it looks so good. And then it's like raining outside. And we're like, are you going to get your new hat wet? And I think it was just so funny how aggravated he got about it. Because he was like, it's not new. I've been a drill sergeant for years. And yeah, so anytime it would rain, we're like, drill sergeant, you need to put something over your hat so it doesn't get wet. It's new. And he's like, I hate y'all. Like, no. He
That
was funny though.
that is so true. Like because at some point we live under the mercy of drill sergeants, but I got
Hmm.
to the point where I was like, I decided no, the drill sergeants are going to live at my
You
mercy.
get to the point where you want to mess with them too.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yes,
you mess with me, I'm gonna mess with you back.
absolutely. So there was our favorite drill sergeant from basic training was he was a Ram, and what I would do is I'd always say I'd go up to him, I'd hit parade rest, and I'd be like, "Good morning, drill sergeant," and I'd be like, "Drill sergeant," and then he'd say, "What?"
What?
And I'd say, "Good morning, drill sergeant." And I said that every day. I'd say it every time I saw him. So it
Yeah.
was his afternoon, if it was morning, if it was evening, I said it to him all the time. And it got to the point where he finally got, he goes, "If you ever want to talk to me again, you have to do 20 push-ups for
Every
every
time.
time you speak to me." And I said, "Done." So I'd
So
go
you
up to
just
him every
busted
day,
out
and then
20.
I'd be like, "Drill sergeant," he'd be like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I'd be like, "Good morning, drill sergeant." He'd be like, "Drop." And then it got to the point where I'd also wish him when he was the one that came in and said goodnight to us.
Hmm.
I'd always say good night, I love you, and he would leave. And he did this to you too when you were at
You
basic.
would leave.
What's fun about me and him is like we actually went to the same basic training company
Really?
at different times
Oh, that's crazy.
at Fort Jackson, which is huge. There are
Yeah.
tons of battalions
Don't know
there.
how you did that.
Yeah, no, and so but I went after him, literally the cycle after him. So when
Hmm.
I got off the bus, every drill
You're like,
sergeant
you're
knew me.
back.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I mean, I had all the drill sergeants walk up to me. He goes, "Watson," and he goes, "Are you when you have a twin?" And I was just like, "I do." And they
I
were like,
do.
"Oh," and literally they were all like, imagine like going
They
to like
go
high school and like
crazy.
your older sibling or somebody played
Yeah,
football there. It's like, "Oh, this is so and so bird." That's what it was like.
I
I was
bet.
like, "It's crazy." So like finally, I'd say I love you and good night after he left, and then he'd always kick that door back open. And
Hmm.
my locker was the first locker in the base, so like I'm right there next to the door, and he'd just look in there and he'd be like, down again. So I'd always have to do push-ups right before bed too.
That's
So
so funny.
that's what I like doing. Like you hold them hostage instead of
Yep.
letting them dictate the pace.
'Cause
Like,
they
oh
have to be there too.
yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
like
you have to be here just as much as I have to be here.
exactly. So that's what he did. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me, drill sergeant.
We'd run around our buildings like for PT. We'd just run a lot. And the drill sergeant, they would run the opposite way, just like on the other side, checking to make sure everyone's still running and still okay. And every time they would pass, we'd be like, good morning, drill sergeant. Good morning, drill sergeant. So
Yep,
like 50 times a morning, just all the laps around. So funny.
absolutely.
It's
That's
just
the
funny to mess with them.
it's those little things that like help you get through the
It is.
day
It keeps you going. We
because it's
ordered a
fun.
flag with their face on it. Because y'all order stuff at yours?
No,
Yeah, so we
what?
could place Amazon orders because we were there for 4 months and they like allowed it. So we
Oh,
ordered,
this must have been AIT.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
AIT.
yeah,
We
that makes more
ordered
sense. Yeah,
a flag with the drill sergeant's face on it, and
that's
they have to
sick.
check you what you order. So like we would unfold it and we were like, here it is. It was like, oh my god,
That's
it
awesome.
was so
So
funny.
yeah, AIT definitely is the more chill version of basic training. They treat you like I think Ivy
Hmm.
said it the best. Like whenever we did an interview with him, he's like, "Oh, you're kind of not treated like crap the entire time because
Yeah, not as much.
you're almost a soldier. Like you're only officially a soldier whenever you get
Like
your
MSQ'd.
yeah your MOS complete when you get that done. It's like when you're at basic training, it's just like you're the Milli Vanilli of soldiers. You're
Hmm.
almost a soldier because we don't know what your job is just yet.
Right, like you have
So.
no purpose actually yet.
And that's what sucks about being an '09 Sierra. We have lived in that limbo state since we got done with basic training.
Right,
So
it's just straight.
we got done, come straight back here. We're in the pre-OCS program, and then jumped into the OCS program, and then boom, like
That's
just
crazy.
nothing but a training environment for the
Mhm.
past like 2 years now. So
Wild.
now we're
No real
finally done.
army.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
real army. We've been in a training environment the whole time. That's what's so funny.
So different.
Yeah. So like as we were getting ready to ship out to phase 1 for OCS, like Captain Stosher
I
was
love
like,
it.
yeah, he's funny. Hey, like the cadre was having some conversation. They were like, who thinks going to do well? Who thinks gonna do, and
Mhm.
like they were like, what about the twins? Like
What about the twins?
yeah, like we're older, like in our
Mhm.
30s. It's like, hey, like what are they gonna, and he just looked over and goes, oh, they'll be fine. And they're like, what do you mean they're going to be fine? And he was like, well, they don't know any better. They've never been treated
don't
any like
know
they've been
any
treated like crap their entire career.
They're
Like they're
used to
going to go there
trademark.
and they're going to go in there. Like, oh, it's like we're
Mhm.
back at basic training. And for me and him, it's like, yeah, this is just like going back to
Mhm.
basic training, except you have more responsibility.
Yeah, it is more responsibility, which I think maybe that's good, like in a sense, because it
Mhm.
is weird. I will say it was really weird to go from, um, like your normal unit. I got to be a squad leader for like a short period of time there because they knew I was like leaving to go to OCS. I think they were trying to give me that experience, and so it's just weird to go from like actual they trust you, like they're giving you these tasks to do, and you're just a normal soldier in the guard doing your job to right back to you're nothing.
Yeah.
Everyone hates you. Like
It's like, are you sure you've been in the army before?
I know. I'm like, yeah, for a few years actually.
Yeah. So, and that's the way it was. Like, I mean, I've watched a lot of OCS videos where, like, they'll be
Yeah.
like, dude, there were people that quit day one
Well,
because of the smoking.
E6, E7
Yeah.
accelerated OCS like so much prior experience, which is great. Like that helped us so much, but they struggled in the sense of like one going from enlisted to officer, it's a
Yeah.
lot different. And just like going back to not being in charge, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're back to just a TRADOC environment. They hated it. You could tell.
Yeah.
It's an adjustment, but they did really well. Like
Yeah. And that's what's amazing is, like, I remember just listening at phase one, all the NCOs were just like, this is crazy.
It
I've
is
never been
stupid.
treated this badly before.
Yeah.
This is nuts. And me and Trevor's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, this is
all the
cool.
time.
Yeah. Night one coming back in the barracks, like, I have never been treated this poorly in the army in my entire life.
So,
And I was like,
That's
are
great.
you serious? And I was like, yes.
so we're jumping a little bit ahead of ourselves. So you finish AIT,
Yeah.
you get graduated, so you come back. How was life at your unit? How long were you at your unit?
I was at the 120th MCAS, which is over in like Broken Arrow, I think is the address it has. And it was great. I love my unit, honestly. I think your first unit will really like shape your perspective of the army, and I got really lucky with mine. I loved it so much. Like everyone there is medical since it's a medical unit. And like there's a bunch of paramedics there. We have like providers and stuff there too, and it's just so cool. I met some of my like closest friends there. Actually got like my civilian job because I work as an EMT. I started working with one of them too at his like EMS service that he worked at. So it was lots of fun. Like it was really hard to leave actually.
Yeah.
I loved all of them so much. And it's like every single drill we're doing training like for medical. So it's like I just get to go and have fun with my friends and do stuff that I like to do every weekend. So drill was like something I look forward to, which apparently is not everyone's experience in their unit.
Yeah,
But it is
apparently.
mine.
Yeah, and that's it's kind of amazing. Like the sentiment I hear from actually most of the guys in our class are
Mhm.
pretty much identical to yours. Ivy loved his. I
Yeah.
mean, his helicopter unit is just right up the road here.
Really.
So, I mean, Babbitt really liked being his 42 Alpha. Like, I
Mhm.
mean,
I've heard that he liked that too.
so whenever they like get thrown into these programs, I'm always shocked. I'm just like, why? Like, what, like,
What
you know,
drove you to join? type?
exactly. So I guess that's my follow up question to you is why did you
It
decide to take
was-
the officer leap?
It was so hard to leave, and I talked to so many people in my unit about it first, and they were all like, "No, you shouldn't go. Like, you should stay." And then they're like, "No, you should go. You should go. Like, we need officers, and you would be a good one." And it was just, I think I had such good examples of leadership at my unit. They just showed me exactly like what I would want to be. Because they just did nothing but inspire me when I was there, and I want to be a provider. And so, like, talking to some of the providers and seeing their patient care, it was just like even more motivating for me to be that eventually and be that provider one day. And so, an officer is like going to OCS was the best route because I didn't know about the gold program until
Until
I
it
was
was
at
too late.
RSU. Yeah, I was at RSU, and then I talked to Sergeant Gonzalez there about it, and I was like, that seems like a really good route to take, and I would be an officer like this time next year. And so I just kind of full sent it after I talked to, a few people at my unit and Sergeant Gonzalez. I was like, you know what? I'm either going to do it or I'm not. So I went to AT with my unit. So not last summer because last summer was OCS, but the summer before that was my last AT with my unit, and then I joined Gold. So I was really part of Gold very short period of time before I went to OCS. But yeah, I think the main pulling factor was just wanting to be one of the leaders that I had at my unit.
Very cool. So yeah, leadership inspires people to do better things or move on to become leaders themselves. So
Yeah.
there, I will say that it's really motivating meeting the vast majority of people I've met in the Guard. Like, they're all super hyper motivated people. For what it seems, I'm sure there are probably some dirt bags too. I just have yet to meet them.
Right.
But yeah, it's really cool. So let's kind of get into the nitty gritty of OCS. So you're in the GOG program for a little bit.
Yeah.
What pulled the trigger on going to Accelerated? Who kind of...
So Gold is kind of set up for you to go to Accelerated because with school, like I'm a full-time college student, you don't have time to go to like the winter, and like traditional can be a lot for you, like trying to do school at the same time. So to just like boom, all in one summer, like you're done, you know? And so I never really considered anything but Accelerated. It just seemed like the best option, and it was the fastest one. So I was like, you know what? Why not? But it is kind of hard to get to Accelerated, like to go. I didn't know that there's so many requirements to meet beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was in Gold for one semester, like at the school, and then you go to pre-OCS. So then I started drilling with pre-OCS, and they were like, you have to pass this, and all these things. And so it just kind of took it as a challenge because I was like, oh, you think like I can't pass those? And so then we just started like running was a big part of it. And like studying land nav and all these other things, which Gold helped a lot with. Like that was our semester of studying land nav, so that helped. But yeah, so we just meet all the requirements, and then you have the 60 credit hours from school, so they're like, okay, go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, let's do it.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, in traditional, we were sitting there with, I think OC Johnson was in our group, and like he was going to phase 1 with us, and like he was reading through that dang book that's sitting right there on that counter at our OC guide.
Oh yeah.
And he was reading through it, and thank God he did, because he's oh my God, I don't have enough credit hours to go to this traditional program. And I was like, thank God you found out right before we loaded onto the bus, because you would have had a long drive home.
Yeah, how did they not catch that before? I
They did. They made the change day of, like I mean, or that before that particular cycle. Like I was shocked. Like they go, because
that's crazy.
That's what their understanding was. Like that's why Cadre was like, yeah, come on,
and go. And then like, he would have got back and not been able to.
Yeah.
Oh, go to phase 1 through nothing.
Exactly. That would have really sucked for him. So thank God he read that and was like, hey, I'll just stay here. It's like, good call. Because that would have sucked driving up there. And then being, I mean, I guess he would have just been a gopher while he was up there just doing stuff for Cadre. But still, I wouldn't want to be up there in that heat if I didn't have to be there. And so I guess we'll kind of go into the monotony of what a day looks like for OCS Accelerated. So you went to is it North or South Dakota?
South Dakota.
South Dakota. Okay, so my understanding is that South Dakota is absolutely brutal. Like it is so bad. Brutal. So
yeah, so Fort Meade, that's where you are in the whole first part. Besides phase 3, phase 3 is when you switch and go to Rapid City. So the majority of OCS, my memory when I think of OCS is Fort Meade, and it's very like tradition. I think they keep their tradition, which I think is really cool. Until you're doing all of their tradition, that is not cool at all. Like the Tree of Knowledge.
Oh, we had Tree of Knowledge.
Did y'all have one of those?
Yeah, we had Tree of Knowledge. Yep.
Oh my gosh, it's the worst. Possibly the worst part of OCS, but they used it so much. And like a typical day, I would say you wake up, they give you a time that like right before you go to sleep the night before, and they only give it to leadership. So then leadership has to come wake everybody up at that time, and you don't really know what time you're getting up. You also cannot get up any time before the time that they give you because they'll be looking around and you'll get in a lot of trouble. So you can't like wake up earlier to prepare or anything like that.
I'd always wake up early under the guys, I got to go pee, which was always true.
Right.
I'm like, hey, I'm not going to wait here until 15 minutes before. Yeah, it's like, I'm going now.
Yeah. And so we would try to do that too. We just get yelled at so many different times. But honestly, it was kind of worth it because you want to be at formation with your stuff. And so we did PT in the morning. So you'd get up. You have like, 5 minutes to get outside so everyone can get accountability. It's so weird how fast you can get ready when you need to get ready that fast. Go from awake to standing in formation with like your weapon and everything. Like, how'd I get here? And then you'd run over to the place where we did PT, which was in front of the dining facility. And we would just do like prep drills and whatever leadership the night before I decided we were doing for PT that day, which could be anything. But most of the time it was like some sort of running to prep us for the 4 mile or something like that. And that would last about an hour. And then we would get back. We'd get like 10 minutes to change into OCPs. And then we'd come out, run back to breakfast. It's like full kit. Do the whole procedure for like taking your stuff off. Do the exercise of the day. All the things. And then we'd finally, like, you've been up for hours at this point, get to eat breakfast. Then you get out of there. March back over because you don't run right after you eat, which is the best part, honestly.
Yeah.
I love that rule. That's my favorite rule. And so we got to march to the schoolhouse. And then you're in the schoolhouse all day long. every 45 minutes coming outside to get smoked for like 10 minutes.
Tack break.
Tag rig, yeah, the worst because you had to report to the tack shack.
Mhm.
Oh god. And then back inside, and it's just like school the entire time, depending on what you're learning that day, which
Yeah.
changed every day. You zoom through stuff, like so
Oh,
much material
yeah.
to cover. Mm-hmm. So it was like so much material, so little time. You're just like writing the entire time you're in there, and they're like, "Okay, tack break."
Yeah, you'll be sitting in there. You're like, we only been in here for like 5 minutes, and like
Like,
the tax, they'll say you guys got to go outside now for your tack break. And the only
Yeah.
beautiful thing is the tax don't come into the building. They're not allowed to. Only the
Yeah.
instructors are allowed in the building, and then you run back out. But it
Really?
sounds like it's basically identical to what we had, except
Our
for the
tacks
fact.
were in
Yeah.
the building because they had the tack shack inside at the top of the stairs. So yeah, that was unfortunate. But they didn't come in our classroom ever. Like that was very separate because they tried to keep your learning separate from your like stressed out because they're standing there, you know.
Yeah, I'll never forget. They actually did not ever come into our building
Yeah.
that we had the classrooms in Kansas. Like it was that was nice, but at the same time, they'd be waiting there at the door,
Waiting for
opening,
ya.
and they were all yelling like, "Get outside!" And our classroom was always at the very end, so we're always the last class out,
Mhm.
first platoon. But I'd just be smiling because they're just yelling, and because I always know how ridiculous things are when they're happening.
Yeah.
So I have this big crap-eating grin on my face because I just know it's so. I'm a 33-year-old man getting yelled at by a bunch of people wearing black hats, and I just remember the captain who was in charge of our platoon just goes, "Watson, wipe that smile off your face." It's just like I can't help it. It's so ridiculous.
It is
this whole
so silly
thing.
when you think about the situation itself because like it's just like grown adults yelling at other grown adults for no reason.
Yeah.
Like you're not actually mad, and I know you're not mad.
Mm.
You're just yelling because you have to, and it's like, and I'm just listening because I have to. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's fun. Like I mean, like don't get us wrong, it's brutal, but
Mhm.
again, the harder something is, the more you kind of
Yeah.
relish the experience and you look back on it with fond memories. And
And once you can get past like what like the fact that they're yelling and just listen to what they're saying, it like changes everything, honestly. Because like
Absolutely.
they're yelling and I'm like, oh, why are they so like loud? Like they're
Yeah.
just so loud all the time. But then I'm like, you finally get to the point where you're listening and I'm like, they're actually saying stuff that is helpful. And it's like I need to know that. So
Yeah, and it also, I mean, it is a smart way to reduce the stress because, like, when you're in a combat zone, I mean, people are
Mhm.
going to be yelling, and you actually
Yeah.
need to focus and hone in on the words that they're saying in
Mhm.
that combat environment. So
yeah.
that's what it's inducing. Like everyone's like, "Oh, there's no method to this method." There's
There's
absolutely
there's
method.
a method for sure. And it works. Like it's been known to work. So yeah, it was painful as it is, like they definitely know how to get the job done. And we had some great tacks at South
Yeah.
Dakota.
Question: did you guys have to sing to your
We
tags?
sing all the time. Yeah.
Okay,
Every
okay,
day.
okay. So that's not surprising.
We
So,
sing well.
how was your chow hall procedures? Did you guys ever sing during chow hall procedures?
We didn't sing. We sang when they would say "make way" because this one tack really liked Aladdin, and we'd be like "make way." So
gosh.
that's when we sang. But we did have joke of the day and like this weird little weather because we had this guy who was he was a weatherman, like that was his job.
Oh my
So, like,
gosh.
they ran with it. They loved it so much, and he did give us weather like forecast every day. It was great. His little voice that he does.
Barometer meeting.
Yeah.
Reading.
Like, that's exactly. He was like the cloud coverage today, and it's
Yeah.
great. But we had joke of the day, and we had to laugh like the loudest we've ever laughed in our whole life. And then they would do it again if they didn't like us laughing. Like we'd have to laugh harder. And so like forcing yourself to just laugh so is just hilarious. I'm like, what are we doing? Like we need to be admitted at this point. Like
Yeah.
we're crazy.
Yeah. So,
Like hitting the table. Like,
Yeah.
we're like it's so funny.
So well, the only thing I'd say that's kind of sucked for us was like never. So we were next to like a meat processing plant or something. So it's
Mhm.
like there's civilians like at the so
Yeah,
like
there's
we're
civilians
doing
all around.
the chow and stuff. Like I feel
It's
so ridiculous right
crazy.
now.
Yeah, so there's like civilian houses on Fort Meade. Like I guess maybe they're not civilian houses, but like, you know, retired people, whatever. And their families, like their wife and kids, and they're walking just like we're pulling, 360 security, and I'm just like, but then these people are just taking their daily walk, around
Yeah.
this place, and I'm just like, what am I doing?
It's so funny because like now I understand how Tommy, so my grandpa, his best friend before he passed away, he was talking about how when he was stationed somewhere, he goes, I would never. He was an enlisted guy. He goes, I would never want to be an officer after he lived on base. He must have
Yeah.
lived near where you're talking
And you
about. 'cause
watch
He could
OCS.
see the OCS because they treated them so awful.
bad.
It was crazy. I've never seen anybody treated so horribly
I've
in the
heard so
military.
many people tell me too, like when I mention OCS, they're like, "I'm so sorry, like that's gonna be so bad," and I'm like, they really know how to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they've been like this forever. So,
You talk to an enlisted, it's like You just wouldn't understand.
You just wouldn't get it.
You
It's
won't
so
understand.
bad. And they're like, oh, it's just like basic training though. And I'm like, no, it's different. Like, it's so different. And it's the same time period, which is so weird, like the 2 months long. But it's not basic training. I'm like, I would not ever do OCS again. Like, if you paid me, I'd probably do basic again. Like it's a lot different.
You mean just
So
got to rock a
different.
couple miles with a backpack on and get yelled at by a drill sergeant for funny stuff?
The thing is, you can
Nothing.
turn your brain off in basic training. Like, you just do what they tell you. Like, you blend in so easily. There's no blending in at OCS. Like, they are going to know who you are, like,
Yep.
regardless.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what I would say. The big difference is OCS is you actually have to be smart because if you do anything stupid, like they're on you.
So fast.
And not smart. Like, you don't have to be a genius to go through OCS, but you just have to pay attention. You have to be wired a certain way. You have to take in the actual information and retain it. And on top of retain it, put it to good use. So,
Because, I mean, the academic portion of OCS isn't really a joke, like, especially with how little time you have to study. I guess accelerated specifically, like, it's not much. You really just got to listen in class and then take the test, which you do get to retake it, I guess, if you fail once, you have one other time. But still, I mean, no one wants to do that, so you just try to pass the first time.
absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's definitely challenging. Like, there's not easy tests. I think Call for Fire was a big one people struggled with. Some people struggled with, and then the military exam. And it's because Call for Fire, we like one day. It was like a few hours that we went over everything, and then we took it.
That makes sense. And that's what scared me about like the accelerated program, because it's just like you're only in that class for a couple of hours.
Yeah, it's like boom, take it. After like go eat chow and then come take it. We're like,
we would know ahead of time what the tests and stuff
So you
we
could
could study
study.
out. We could study through the month, whether you studied outside for the month or
Right.
not. But the one that actually killed the vast majority of candidates in our class was the
history.
history exam, because it's so dense and they're paragraph long questions and
And then you never know
paragraph long
what's on.
answers. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how ours was too. Like, we had a few people fail that one, and then everyone passed on the retake, I think. But yeah, that was always a big one too.
Yeah.
We did have a really good
Instructor. Yeah.
I
But
love, like, he's so good.
there has to be good instructors. Like, our instructors were fantastic here. Like,
Yeah,
I think
such good
he'll
ones.
be our speaker for our
Oh, really?
yeah,
That's
Captain
great.
Taylor. That's gonna be awesome. But
Yeah.
he's good. But it sounds kind of like the phase one for you and us is similar. So did they break it up into phases,
So
or
we
is
had
it
phase 1, phase 2 alpha, phase 2 bravo, and then phase 3.
okay? So kind of like what I was talking about the other day when the abridged, like you break it up into two segments of phase two. So
So
so did they kind of change the mentality within phase two, or was it still pretty brutal all throughout phase two?
I think from phase 1 we just got so like, oh, we're almost to phase 2, like, let's go, and we just maybe got a little too excited for phase 2, because if I had to pick one day that was the worst day of OCS, it was the first day of phase 2 alpha. Like, it was the worst day, and I think it's because we wanted so bad for it to not be phase 1 anymore, and then it was just us and Master Sergeant Faust, and like, love him to death, but oh my
I've heard
gosh,
this name before too.
he like killed us, like, basically. Maybe just I took it crazy, but it was the tree of knowledge is what it was all day long.
Oh my
All
gosh.
day long. And I was just so like, wow, we're never gonna make it out of phase 1. Like, we're just never gonna. But it did. I mean, it did get better. It's also the new tax. The first few days of every new phase is gonna be brutal, because they have to prove themselves and make, they're not pushovers. They're not just your phase 2 tax that are chill, which I get. I understand. But we always knew the first 2 days of every phase is gonna suck.
Yeah.
And then it gets better. And so phase 2 alpha wasn't great. I mean, it was better than phase 1, I guess.
Yeah.
Phase 2 bravo was good. It was good. It was better. We were more focused on academic stuff. And then phase 3 they did switch pretty well into the mentor. There was a few that still wanted to just like make us do dumb stuff. But at that point we were like, we're almost out of here. Like, we'll do your dumb stuff.
Yeah,
So
whatever.
we took it like a champ, I think. But everyone gets cranky in the field. So
I guess I'll have some go in a little deeper on the phase two stuff. So I guess it's kind of similar to basic training. Whenever you had new drill sergeant cycle in, you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, screw these guys, because you don't
yeah,
know
'cause
anything
we were
about
like,
them.
we know
yeah.
more than y'all do about this place. We've been here longer.
Yeah.
That's how we felt. But you don't get it. You don't even know our rules. You're trying to make new rules, but we've been doing it this way. And that was aggravating, like, just having to adjust to them basically every 2 weeks, all of us, because they also switch platoons. So we're adjusting to each other, adjusting to them. Yeah, they shuffled us as much as they physically could, I think.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know anybody. But by the end of it, you knew everybody,
Yeah.
like, in the whole company, which is really nice. So I do like the way they did that. But yeah, every 2 weeks, like, whole new squads, whole new platoons. don't work well with these people because you just met them.
Yeah. So I guess we never did a tree of knowledge again after we left phase 1, but I will say
Really?
phase 2, the first drill of phase 2 was pretty brutal. Like, I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
like we came back and we were just like, we did it. We're
We
out of
did it.
phase 1.
And
You
they're
know, and
like,
like
nope.
very similar to you, it's like they show like they just go, you just have a report time, and that's about all we had. So we
Yeah.
just get to the RTI at
You're just
OKC, and
scared
then
to
like
death.
you hear come the black hats. And you're just like, I don't know either of these. I recognized the chief. But
Yeah,
I didn't recognize the
that's
other black
it.
hat there because he wasn't at phase 1 with us. So I'm just like, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
who this guy is. But just like, why aren't your rooms in perfect order? It's like, we didn't know we were supposed to have them in perfect order. We just
Yeah.
were told to report here. It's like, get these rooms in. And then I'm a smart ass too. So like, it doesn't help. It's like, so like we're low crawling through like the parking lot and like crawling
Mm-hmm.
up a hill over by the RTI. And then, we come back in and he goes, what did you learn while you were out there? And of course, I could not help myself. And I was just like, I learned that the grass is freshly mowed out there right now. Not the right, not the right answer.
Wrong answer.
I'm pretty sure he wanted to say
No,
something.
he said right answer, but not the answer I'm looking for.
Yeah, God, yeah. The answer was attention to detail, I'm sure, but I did
Mhm.
not give that answer. But
That's
yeah,
great.
it sounds like phase 2 kind of kicks off the same way, regardless. We were,
Yeah.
I didn't do tree of knowledge ever again after phase 1, but
They kept. I mean, they kept that until we left Fort Meade. They
Nice.
just loved the idea of it. I think honestly, they were really trying to get us ready for the 4 mile too, which I appreciate. But
yeah.
you know,
And that's the other thing too is like so we have to plan for our drill outside of drills, so it's like
Mhm.
it's like being normal. So she's in the environment the whole time,
yeah,
like she never leaves, and we have to go home and we have to plan how our drill. Like we have the schedule and we have the counter, but then we have to execute everything we're supposed to do. We have to make sure everybody's doing their jobs. We have to assign water details.
is that
and-
who's in leadership that does that at
Yeah,
the time?
absolutely. So
Yeah, that would be a lot different than the way we do it.
So and then you have sometimes guys would be like show up and we'd be like, hey, it's like drills this weekend, and then they'd be like, it is, and it's like you're like,
Be
get
real
your
for
butt here
real.
like
Yeah.
now, dude. So you have that, because people are. I mean, life catches you. It's like, hey, you gotta study for this test, but it's like, I'm working here, I'm doing other things. It's like
you get distracted for sure.
so That's why a lot of us were like, we probably should have just gone accelerated because it would just.
It's nice in the sense of you're so locked in. Like you're in the military mindset and you don't have to switch back and forth. It's not nice in the sense of you're away from family and friends, just like basic type of thing. And it's like the physical part of it is that you're always sore, like there's no recovery, and there's a lot of physical events you have to do to graduate. And so there's just no recovery. You have to be able to do it all back to back essentially. And then mentally same thing, like there's no time to study. So it's just back to back test.
100%. I mean, she put it perfectly right there. Like, if you're in there, it's brutal. There's no resting. There's no, and if you're injured at any point during the phase,
it's
like
awful, yeah.
that's why the vast majority of guys in our class who were
Mhm.
at South Dakota, like the year before you went, like
They get hurt.
they got hurt. Like, I mean, Ivy tore his meniscus while he was
It's
there.
like an immediate, like
Yeah.
there's no way there's no recovery
Yeah,
time.
it's like if you don't like he literally was walking on his torn meniscus for 3 days.
They
He
would
said,
do
if
like,
you make it to phase 2
Yeah.
without
With
you can make it and we'll put you in the traditional, but if you don't make it to
then
the
you
end of
have
this,
to repeat, yeah.
you're going back. And he was like, screw that, I'll walk on
walk
this
it.
torn meniscus and be
'Cause
slow as keg.
The only thing they can give you is a walking profile, and they will do those sometimes for 6 hours. Like you have 6 hours
To
to
recover.
feel better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we know that that's not possible. Like the corpsmen there as our medics, like we know that, but it's like the environment that we're in. Like you just have to figure it out, basically. And like that's what I think Sergeant Walker was trying to get his point across before we all like left. It's like you don't get hurt because there's no like recovering from that. Like you're just gonna be hurt, and hopefully you can still finish because there's no
Yeah, again, there is zero other than you get your one retest. Like,
Mhm.
there's no forgiveness in this
There is
environment.
no-
It's
yeah.
absolutely brutal. It's absolutely insane. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. Obviously, we all did it, and I don't think any of us are probably the best,
Right.
ruckers or runners or in this room, but
Yeah.
we all did it, and we're probably middle of the pack type people. I would imagine. Like, I was never first, I was never last,
Yeah.
but somewhere in between. But it's doable, but it's brutal. And so it sounds like you did PT every morning all throughout phase 2, except you just had your standard curriculum you would go in and learn for that particular segment. At what point did they start kind of getting into the stick lane stuff? Was that just in segment B?
was Yeah, I think it was phase 2 Bravo, maybe the second week of phase 2 Bravo, that we really started diving into just like the PowerPoint part of the sticks lanes, but they didn't hit on that long before our instructor specifically was like, let's just go outside and like do battle drills, because it wasn't stick lanes yet, but we were going over battle drills before we went to the field and stuff. And so we were working with our little templates we had for the like flipping the orders and stuff. We had really good template for that they gave us.
The shells, yeah.
The
Okay.
shell, yeah. And so that was really nice to have because they just provided that for us. And it's one that they had made from previous years, I guess. Just out accelerated that they all agreed on. And it was a really good one. I think we all did really well with it. And we brought it back too and have given it to Gold and stuff to use. But
Nice, yeah.
yeah, we really liked that one. And we just dove straight into like battle drills and then really just kicked it off. Like they would just read it to us and we would get what we've got and we'd all brief it to each other. Like we'd all just take turns doing it, get practice of saying it and just repetitions. Like we did it every single day for weeks before we actually went to the field.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I mean, that's what needs to happen. Like for us, again, you know, we do it a month and then we come back like, oh, we are
yeah.
rusty.
Yeah.
So that is the hard part. You know, like they're in that environment. Accelerated might be better for just keeping that end, but again, traditional. If you're looking for it to be more, if you want to experience what's going to be like actually at your unit, that might be the way to go. And that's kind of where me and him were at. Where we go, this is what's going to like, the way. I guess whenever we were about to ship to basic, that's how Captain Stosher, or he was Lieutenant Stosher at the time, but he was like, it's like an internship program. And I was like, ooh, that sounds like it could be really beneficial. Because it's like, you know, you follow the officers around, they teach you how to do stuff, and it's like you see the job from the actual perspective on the ground instead of just being there and being brutalized the entire time. Have their benefits. Again, part of me was like, I made a big mistake not going to federal or going to the accelerated program. So, but yeah, and then you go to phase 3, and then it's all stick lane stuff.
It's all field, all sticks lanes, and that's just you breathe like infantry officer is what you feel like. You know?
Yeah,
which is cool. I mean, it was a good time. Everyone gets cranky in the field, especially when you're there for over
2 months.
Like over a whole week there. Like we still had 3 more days or 2 more days. So yeah, everyone was like not on their best mood, I guess, by the end of it all. It was just really hot. Like that was the hottest days that we were up there. It got to 103 in South Dakota when we were in the field. So we were struggling to say the least, but I mean, I think we did really good at keeping each other like up for what it was. And a lot of people passed like the first go of stick lanes. Like we had very few that needed to redo it, and then even the people who redid it, like their squad really helped them like when they were out there. So
I guess it's same for us. Like, you know, we go out there, except we I guess it's because you were there the entire time for that 2 months. So I imagine people were just like sick and ready to go home. And the thing about traditional, when we went to phase 3, the spirits were really high basically the entire time. Like everybody was excited. There was no real.
Well, we had traditional come in. So I think that might have been our riff a little bit too. It's working with the traditional because the traditional came in super happy, and I was like, I kind of appreciated it. I was like, it's a good new faces, and they're in a good mood. Like it really brings us up. But some people were like, shut up, like you have not been here. Like this place sucks.
You don't get it, man.
You don't understand. This is awful. Yeah, I understood that too, but it was like, but which way can you look at it? You know, you can either be happy or you can be upset.
You know, it's a choice. You know,
or here either way.
Yeah, being happy or sad is a choice. Like if you're going to, you're in that battle, you chose to be in the military. Don't drag everyone down. Like I mean, especially as an officer, like your job is. I mean, you have platoon sergeants who probably have more experience than you could ever hope to have in the military. Who are going to basically be in charge of the platoon. Your job should primarily be to keep up their morale and keep them going. Like it's not
for sure.
You don't want to hammer people down. So it's like if you're in that environment, I know you, especially for the accelerated guys, like keep your spirits up because that's going to be brutal at the end there.
Yeah,
especially for people who are struggling to get their go. Because if you're in a bad mood and that kid gets a no go, it's like, hey, I'll do whatever I can to help you pass. And we got to keep your spirits high. If you're the negative Nancy, it's like, dude, I don't give a crap whether or not you pass or fail. Like, it's not up to me.
I don't care either,
Don't be that blue falcon. Don't be that dude that makes that kid twice as nervous because he's working with someone who's got a chip on their shoulder. It's like, I got my go. Screw you.
Right, and luckily we didn't have that issue too much of people who got it and didn't want to help others. Traditional came in like super like wanting help. You know, they didn't come in super hot. Like I think a lot of people expected that for them to be like, I know this and this and this and this, but they came in like, please tell me everything you know. Like, you know the tax, you know how they're going to grade. We just got here and we're testing like tomorrow. And I was like, we stayed up and we did classes overnight with traditional of like how to use our templates that we're using and shells and stuff. And so, I don't know, like I think we had a really good relationship, especially like you get to know somebody with 9 days in the field and squad level stuff. We had a lot of traditional. We had like 4 of our squad was traditional. We only had like 3 or 4 of us that were accelerated. So it was a full 50 like cut, and we're just
Yeah.
besties by the end of it.
Yeah.
So
And that's
yeah, they had a lot of knowledge to bring too. Like they were super, like we're gonna listen to you, like tell us what to do, type. But then when we got into it, like they had suggestions that were really helpful, and that ended up changing what all of us did together too. So
absolutely like
yeah,
come together and work on a group SOPs. Like I mean,
yeah,
it's a group effort. I mean, everyone goes. We come into that. I'm in charge here. I'm the. It's like,
I'm
dude.
like, but you won't be in 48 hours when it
Yeah.
switches to somebody else.
And then it won't.
So.
You won't even be like after your lane's over. You won't be. It's like, and
Yeah.
again, if you come in with like that, I'm in charge. Everybody's going to do exactly what I say. Like, dude, we're not really in charge of anybody here because
No.
this is a training
This is a
environment.
fake
I can't
power.
Article 15 you. So,
Yeah.
if people are like, dude, screw this dude, like.
Mhm.
I'm not going to help him get his go. Like,
You're
I'm
not.
just going to go through the motions, and if he
Yeah.
happens to get his go, good for him. It's like, no,
Yeah.
man. Again, keep people motivated. Don't be that blue falcon that just brings everyone down, or is just like drill sergeant, and I'm going to tell everyone what to do.
And a lot of them like were those NCOs that they would just get mad they basically couldn't smoke people when they were in leadership, and I'm
Yeah.
like, we don't need that. Like we really don't need that right now. We're getting it enough from everything else. But I think they found a struggle in leading people without having that kind of power
Yeah.
over them in the sense of that. I'm like, well, you got to get used to that because you're an officer now.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
because
exactly what that is.
your job's not to smoke people as an officer. You walk up to your NCO and go,
Mhm.
"Hey, that private, he's giving me some strife. Handle it." And
No,
they're
I'm
like,
you need to
and their
fire
sergeant's like,
them.
I'm on it. I'll take care of it. If he ever
Yeah.
says anything rude to you again, I'll take care of it for you, sir. It's like,
Mhm.
boom, that's what you want. But
Yeah.
it's again, the NCOs can really struggle out there because again, when I was at phase 1, like those guys, like they're like, this is crazy. I've
They
never
were
been treated
struggling a
this
bit.
horrible. But I guess what I want to ask you now is, what was the attrition rate like from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3? Like, how many people dropped in phase 1? How many people dropped in phase 2 and
Yeah.
got killed by the tests or the
Mhm.
the runs? And how many people didn't pass in general in
So
the stitch
phase
lanes?
3, we had 100% everybody made it through, which was really nice. I was really glad everyone passed. And phase 1, we had a lot of people drop. I don't know a specific number, but I mean it was like left and right. We were getting a motivational speech by our commander like every day because people were just dropping, and he was like, "Y'all can do this," and I was like, "They couldn't apparently," but yeah, I mean we had first day. I remember one in my squad dropped, and that's why I ended up having a smaller squad. I think 3 from the platoon total had dropped that day. So, I mean, day 1, we lost like 4 or 5, probably at least, from my platoon.
Gosh.
Yeah. So, in the whole company, it probably was like under 10, but like day 1, like, you know. And then, due to land nav failures, I think we had 2, which is a pretty low number.
Yeah,
for
that's
the company.
really low.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we had a lot of retests, but only 2 that actually went home because of it. And from the 4 mile, we had everyone pass. We had one get like 2 seconds before, and we were like so happy that everyone passed that. So no one left because of that. I think one person left because of academic. So again, like that's for a company, like that's not too bad.
No, that's actually phenomenal.
Most of it was within phase 1 that people left, or
Yeah.
not even left, but people that were supposed to be not traditional but accelerated was like, no, I'm not staying here for this whole time, and
Yeah.
they left. And there's a lot of family issues that made people leave too. Like I don't think all of it was just I can't do this, but yeah, I mean there's 2 people from Oklahoma. Like we went with 7 and graduated 5, so you know.
Jeez. Yeah, no, so phase 1 for us, we lost. We had 100 and we had 70 finished. So I think land nav
That's
is what got everybody.
Yeah, that's about I think the percentage that it
Mhm.
normally is with.
30% attrition rate. That
Mhm.
kind of makes sense. And then phase 2, it was actually for our class specifically, since there's only there was like 10 of us or whatever at the
Mhm.
beginning, and then we lost. We finished with 8, so we lost what,
We
3,
lost
2 or 3.
Yeah, we lost 3.
So
It was about the same, like wide
yeah.
percentage of everybody there.
So
Like Oklahoma, we
yeah,
went with 7, came back with 5. I'm like, okay, I mean, most of us.
yeah.
It was actually mostly gold that ended up finishing.
Oh, so I mean, and that was the thing. Like when we had Babbitt come back in because he was gold, and then he went to accelerate and came back because he didn't make it through phase 2. I mean, we leaned on him a lot for a lot of information, like because he'd be like,
'Cause
"Oh,
he had
I've done
been
I've done
there,
a
you
mock
know.
dine-in before." Like, you've done a mock dine-in before? Like
Well, that was from being in gold. though,
yeah,
not from-
exactly. Yeah. So it's like we'd sit there and be like, "Wow, you've done a mock dine. We've never done a dine-in, so we're gonna have to ask you a bunch of questions about how to do this." So gold does a really good
A
job.
lot of the stuff that we did was completely different. It's like I've never done that.
Yeah, and then so we leaned on him hard, like going, "So you've already almost gotten through phase 2, so we can ask you all these questions." And like we would be doing our Cub briefs, or we'd be doing like what our OE operational environment briefs and things like that. And then Bab would be like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. Like, like you're looking at me like I don't know what you're talking about right now
Yeah,
either.
I think everyone does it a little differently. Like we do OE briefs in gold now, but that's because like we kind of started that when we got back from OCS, or we started like history briefs and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the gold programs probably do small things differently. I'm not sure how long Babbitt was in the program because he wasn't in when I joined.
Yeah.
'Cause that's how like short of a time period I guess I was there. It's just like we had right at the switch. But
Yeah, and that's I like again. I wasn't even in the pre-OCS, but I was at the pre-OCS for 3 drills, and then it was like, congratulations, traditional start, and here we go. Like, so the only thing that I really took from it was the land nav stuff that we did, which thank God we did, because I didn't get a heck of a lot of land nav at basic training.
Land nav was a lot at OCS, like accelerator, because we did the night and the day. Did y'all do that too?
Yep.
Yeah, because I switched that recently to being separate things. I knew it used to be together. But I mean, a lot of people struggled with it. We did really well. All of gold, I think we all got 7 out of 7 on both of them. But it was because we've done so much land nav before and just had that experience. But a lot of people didn't, and so there was a bunch of people that struggled with it. But you only had to get 4, I think, to pass, like 4 points out of 7. So a lot of people passed, but just didn't.
4 out of 7.
Yeah, I think so.
We had to do 5.
Maybe it was
if you
5.
if you got missed 1, you could survive, but if you missed 2, bye bye. Retest or your
it probably was 5 then.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say like,
practice.
that's a lot.
The practice we only did 5 points, so you had to get 4 out of 5 to
Gotcha.
get, yeah.
That makes sense. But yeah, so then phase 2, the attrition rate really wasn't too bad for you. Most people.
There was a few here and there. It wasn't even due to, I think, OCS, more so family, like personal.
That makes sense. But yeah, we had a couple of guys fail the history test, and that was it. There was no. They didn't pass, and they didn't pass the retest, and they were gone. So we lost 3, and then it was just.
Which one was technically family issues. It was our only female.
She didn't want to be there anymore.
Didn't want to be there anymore.
She wanted to go home and be with the family and stuff. So,
yeah.
And then the other 2 really had a hard time passing that test. We probably should have done a better job getting in study groups and stuff. But again, outside of drill, one of them's a home builder, so he's tired at the end of the day. It's like when you get done building a house or renovating something, it's like, do you really want to come home and open up a test and start studying, 2 semesters of collegiate military history in 2 days?
Like that's a whole class. Like that's an entire semester's worth of. Yeah.
So there's like, it's really not fair. But I mean, the cadre did give us really good study materials for outside of drill. But it's just, even then, it's just like, dude, this is so much. So anywho, but yeah, and then phase 3, nobody failed for you guys though. Yeah. And that's pretty similar to us. Like, we only had 1 person fail in Washington, and it was like an E7 from California that did not make it. So, yeah, you're just like, dude, like, I guess his job must have been like 42 Alpha or something, just completely unrelated. So,
yeah.
I don't know. But, yeah, sounds like it's not too different. Like, the structure of OCS doesn't seem to change. It seems like it's all there. Yeah. It's just the only difference is
are the same, just different
time requirements. Yeah. So, that's really cool. That it's all... There's the universal brotherhood or bond between the OCS environment. So that's really neat. So I guess we'll just kind of wrap up here and say, so what is your plans for after you graduate OCS? Like, I mean, obviously you have to go to IBOLC at some point, but not IBOLC, BOLC, whatever your BOLC is. But what is your plan? So, I mean, what do you want to do outside the military? How long are you planning on being in the National Guard, and what's the goal?
So I branched logistics. I'm quartermaster because I switched from infantry. And then I'm going to rebranch to medical once I get into medical school. So I graduate in May from Rogers with my bachelor's. And then I will take like a year so I can go to BOLC. I'll go to logistics BOLC, which is in Virginia. And I think it's 4 months long. So I'll go there and then graduate from there. I'm a PL at 777 in Okmulgee.
Okay.
So I'll be there for a little bit before I apply to med school, get into med school, and then I'll switch to medical and go to med school. Hopefully at Baylor, so I'll probably transfer states down there.
Oh, I get to be in Texas for a while. That'd be cool.
Yep, that's the plan. And then eventually I want to switch to surgeon for Army, but that'll be
way down the road.
Like around 30 by that point before I get to do that, but.
Yeah, hey, but if you're planning on doing your 20, might as well.
Yeah, might as well. That's what I'm saying. I was like, well, I'm going to be in for 20, so I got till I'm 38 anyways, at least.
Perfect. Heck yeah. Well, thanks for being here, Shailey. It's been enlightening and really fun. So this is the Twins with the Grand Old Time Cast. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.